That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Eddington, the fourth film directed by Ari Aster, which premiered in competition at the 2025 Cannes Film Festival. A24 is releasing it July 18th, 2025.
I know Ari Aster. We reviewed Beau is Afraid.
Which I believe was in both of our top 10s that year.
And I know I really liked Hereditary.
His debut. Mm-hmm. And I believe 2019's Midsummer was my favorite film, I think, listed that year.
Oh, yes.
But all of his films are very divisive.
What is Eddington about? In May 2020, amid the COVID-19 pandemic, a small New Mexico town erupts into chaos when its sheriff and mayor clash over mask mandates, igniting political tensions and community divisions. What is your pull quote?
Aster appears to be satirizing the obvious in this dark comedic prologue to our current state of affairs, but this initially subversive microcosm navigating the dueling political extremes strangling democracy collapses under the weight of its own self-indulgent mockery.
Oops. Mine. Eddington may confuse chaos for depth and forgets when to end the conversation with its overly long, mildly deranged spiral of ideas.
Yeah, it's 2.5 hours. I'm not afraid of a film's length. Beau is Afraid is long and more complicated.
Okay, I like this movie more than I didn't. This thing is too damn long.
Yeah.
And there's one plot point in particular that you could just take out. Maybe he'll edit it.
I don't think so.
Maybe there'll be a new release.
The release is imminent. Maybe after the so-so response it received in Cannes, where it didn't pick up any awards. Not that that means anything. Yeah, if he was going to do that, he already would have done it.
So when you talked about it in your best and worst of Cannes video, I thought I was really going to dislike it. I assumed it was just going to be like a straight up, like, here's what COVID was like. And I've seen other videos and read some reviews. I don't think this movie feels that basic and annoying or obvious.
I don't think it's basic. I think some things are kind of obvious, but it's not that it's basic. It's just that it falls off hard. And coming from Aster and his previous 3 features, to me, it's kind of a little bit of a fall from grace.
Okay, just try to tell the basic story. It's May 2020, so COVID lockdown has just begun, and we're in this small town called Eddington in New Mexico. I think the population says it's like under 3,000 maybe, so a very small town. And it seems like it's a little dry there, like desolate, and like the economy is struggling. And in the background, there's this potential development of a data center, mm-hmm. which could revitalize the town.
Which is being championed by the current mayor,
played by
Pedro Pascal, who's up for reelection, Ted Garcia.
And then we have the sheriff, played by Joaquin Phoenix.
Joe Cross.
And he seems to be struggling with the new mandates. Mm-hmm. He has asthma, which I guess is important to the story, and refuses to wear a mask. So in the first 15 minutes of the film, I was a little worried, like, oh, are we just going to spend 2.5 hours talking about how difficult people were during lockdown? Mm-hmm. But things quickly erupt because Joaquin has an incident where he's called out and shamed on social media for not wanting to wear a mask. So this man just decides to run for mayor. Mm-hmm. It's important to know that Joaquin, the sheriff, is married to Emma Stone.
Louise.
And she is mentally ill.
She makes dolls. She makes really weird dolls.
Creepy ass dolls, which I thought were funny, actually. Mm-hmm. And she blows up on his ass. I'm not well, and then now you're going to bring this additional scrutiny to our home. I'm not going to deal with this. She has become fixated on this conspiracy theorist / preacher man type person.
A guru
played by Austin Butler.
Vernon Jefferson Peak.
This is the plot line I think serves no purpose.
Who's kind of like Charles Manson-ish, really, to me.
I think you could totally excise Emma Stone and Austin Butler from the film, and it'd probably be better.
I agree, because I also think Emma Stone's casting feels weird.
Well, we can talk about it. The reason I really think you could get rid of her is because living in the sheriff's home is his wife, Emma Stone, but also Emma Stone's mother.
Dawn, played by Deirdre O'Connell, who you might remember as Sigourney Weaver's frenemy in Imaginary Heroes.
Oh. And this mother-in-law, the sheriff's mother-in-law, is a conspiracy theorist, and she also seems loony. I don't think we need a double dose of it, especially when the mother-in-law is more fun and engaging.
And somehow less insane ultimately than
Yeah.
Louise.
But anyway, he runs for mayor, and then the current mayor is not really undermining him, but sort of says like, you might as well, like, you're going to embarrass yourself. But also in the background, of course, is the George Floyd incident.
The civil unrest.
And then in this little town, there are a bunch of white kids. One in particular, this girl.
Sarah.
And the mayor's son,
Eric.
who's Latino, Pedro Pascal's son, likes her. But then there's this white boy,
Brian.
who also likes her and sees that she's really like, what's the term? Like she's really
motivated by
injustice and
excitable hot button issues.
there's a lot of language that, I mean, I thought was funny.
Well, it's clearly skewering both ends, and she's representative of the far left.
Yeah. So, I mean, so there were groans. I think it's funny that she's like kind of militant about BLM. And so because of this white girl being like for the cause, the white boy who likes her decides to create a BLM chapter in Eddington.
Uh-huh.
And then he sort of is the impetus for like what starts out as peaceful protesting, but then turns into riots. And so now everything, like the convergence of being stressed out about the COVID mandates, the riots that are spawned by just this group of kids not knowing what they're doing, and then the sheriff running for mayor.
And also being distracted by his own selfish needs with his wife.
Yes. He ends up doing something crazy, which is he decides to make a video talking about the mayor, Pedro Pascal's character, sexually assaulted my wife. They dated many years ago.
When she was 16, apparently.
He raped her and she became pregnant and she had an abortion.
A forced abortion.
A forced abortion. So we don't want him as mayor. And then this man publishes that video on Facebook. And then seemingly like the same day,
Well, Emma Stone leaves that night. She goes off with Vernon.
Austin Butler's character.
And
she makes a response video talking about that's not true. Ted Garcia, the mayor, did not sexually assault me.
She said she was assaulted, but that lie was made up by her mother. Yeah.
So now the sheriff is shamed. Also in the background is this homeless man running around, acting real crazy, coughing on everybody.
He's the opening of the film. He almost looks like he came straight from the island of Dr. Moreau.
I mean, he looks like a lot of people we see walking around LA, but
And I think that's the point, like
Yeah.
having degraded humanity because of his situation.
the sheriff's at his wit's end with this homeless man. Because they had a confrontation earlier where the man, like he had to wrestle this man down, the man's coughing on him, and the sheriff ends up, it's never confirmed that he has COVID. He takes the test, gets the results, but doesn't open them. But I think it's obvious that
He doesn't feel
Joaquin's character has COVID. One night, the homeless man's has broken into the local bar and is tearing shit up. And I thought really funny, he's drinking all kinds of liquor. And he's like, everything tastes the same. And the sheriff loses it and shoots and kills that man, disposes of the body, then goes to the damn mayor's house, shoots him and his son, tries to cover that shit up. And then the movie turns into something entirely different. Because the sheriff has two deputies, one of whom is black, Michael.
Michael Ward, who we reviewed him in Blue Story and Empire of Lights, where he's opposite Olivia Colman.
And so the sheriff is taking advantage of the current political climate. And basically, well, at first he tries to blame it on Antifa, and then tries to pin it on Michael by like planting evidence. But the mayor's house borders like native land, which I think the town's called Pueblo maybe, or that region. And so a Pueblo investigator, like a cop from there, comes over. And that man can tell that something's not right.
William Bello playing, he's one of my favorite parts, Butterfly Jimenez.
So then there's kind of like this tension of like, is he going to figure out who did what? But then the film changes again because then some like white supremacist on a private plane who we never see their face shows up in Eddington and is causing problems and is basically running around killing everyone. Like he tries to kill the sheriff. He kills the Pueblo investigator.
Butterfly.
We get a long like chase scene where the sheriff Joaquin has a machine gun.
A very long chase scene, yeah.
And ends up Joaquin ends up getting stabbed in the skull, which causes him to be, he doesn't die, he becomes paralyzed. The reason he doesn't die is because that white boy, who basically is the reason like the riot started,
Brian,
he kind of saves Joaquin by killing the killer.
he runs at him, shooting at him, which is a surprise for everyone, and he's filming it on his phone as he's doing it.
And then in the end, we see that, of course, the sheriff wins mayor because the mayor's dead. But then his mother-in-law, the conspiracy theorist, she's basically running the show.
Kind of like a dowager queen.
So they inaugurate the new data center, and we see that white boy is now like a popular, I guess, like right-wing talking head. The end. Yeah, there is a lot going on. I felt like, I mean, from my perspective, it feels like how I feel today.
Well, it's
in a big city, witnessing the craziness that goes on.
But it's kind of overkill as well, and I don't think it's nearly as smart or cutting as it thinks it is at times. It does have moments. As I was rewatching it, I was like, was I too cranky when I saw it at Cannes? Because I think the first hour is pretty good. But then it almost happens at the exact same moment. It's after it turns into like a Coen Brothers script. And I think I said this before. It feels like a Coen Brothers script directed by George Clooney at this point. And then it just feels really long. I
agree that at that point, the movie felt like, oh, we should have been done. This movie needs to be like 45 minutes shorter. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I kind of feel like, I don't want to say it's not smart. It feels very direct. Like it's not a satire as much as like a dark comedy.
Yeah, but
I laughed a lot.
I did, but I don't know. And I also get Joaquin Phoenix, I think, gives another great performance. And this is probably why Beau is afraid didn't get a perfect score for me either, was that it's hard saying he was such a loser for so long.
Also, he's doing some accent work that I'm not quite sure, does he think a New Mexico accent sounds like a watered down, like Southern accent? Mm-hmm. I don't know. But yeah,
And Pedro, I think, is fun until, of course, he dies unexpectedly. As every Aster film has, I think, some really nice details. Like Joaquin Phoenix decks out his deputies, his sheriff's vehicle with anti-Ted Garcia memos, and there's a lot of spelling errors. And when we see inside Pedro Pascal's house, he's got all this toilet paper.
He's hoarding toilet paper. Yeah. Also, when Joaquin, the sheriff, decides to run for mayor, he basically tells his deputies, like, you're going to run my campaign. Which, of course, I think they're, like, the film's touching on a lot of stuff, right? Because obviously, like, there are campaign issues, like, you're using your current job to sort of fund and operate your campaign for a different job. Mm-hmm. Like, but I found that interesting. He has this whiteboard of slogan ideas, and they're coming up with, like, stuff that makes no sense. Mm-hmm. But then it appeals to the people. I think the first section of the movie, dealing more with the COVID mandates, it was just enough to be uncomfortable. Like, oh God, I don't want to go back to 6 years ago. Like, who wants to think about that? But it stops at the right moment before I felt like annoyed by it.
Okay.
Because we just get the grocery store scene where the sheriff refuses to wear a mask, Joaquin Phoenix, because he says he has asthma, he can't breathe. But then the mayor is there saying, like, come on, you're supposed to set an example, and like, you can't wear a mask for like 20 minutes. I thought that worked pretty well.
Yeah, enough. But that's kind of over how I feel about the film, though. Emma Stone, I don't know. I agree with you that I think that if they had cut that whole portion out and he's just stuck with his mother-in-law, we don't need anything to know about the wife except she's skedaddled. She just doesn't seem consequential enough. She's frigid. She's not sexual with him. That's kind of a character flaw of hers. But then, of course, we revisit, we see footage of her at some congregation of Austin Butlers, and she clearly has a baby bump. So she got over that with the right man. But I don't know. I don't know that she's used very effectively, and she doesn't seem well matched as kind of a linchpin between Pedro Pascal and Joaquin Phoenix as men.
I agree. I think she serves the purpose of just adding extra stress and tension to this character, but I feel like you don't need her because we could have just learned, like, oh, my wife had mental health issues and ran off or committed suicide. So now I'm stuck with my mother-in-law, mm-hmm. who's equally as deranged. And that tells you all you need to know. I mean, that's worse than what's worse than living with a crazy wife, a crazy mother-in-law. So, I mean, yeah, I don't think we need to hurt all. And then I like Austin Butler, but I feel like he feels like he's in a different movie.
Yeah.
And then he just shows up. And I don't know, like the messaging of the movie, all of it feels, I mean, obvious as you say, and then he comes along and it's like, I don't know what he's talking about.
Well, everybody's own selfish agenda is kind of causing the unraveling of humanity on a very small scale in the parameters of this film, but really that's what's going on.
Because when we first see his home, the sheriff's home, we see that Emma Stone's character is watching Austin Butler's videos on YouTube, and then we go through his website and we see like the headlines for his articles are nonsense.
Yeah.
I feel like that's all we needed from that character. That character didn't even have to be a notable actor.
Right.
Like, we don't need to meet him to know that whomever is watching this is probably prone to not using logic and reason. But yeah, that just all felt so unnecessary.
But it's weird because that is a bridge too far for Dawn, the mother. Like, this person. It's like, but the rest of the shit you're saying is also nonsense.
I was kind of hoping when the moment where you feel like the film takes a turn is when the Pueblo investigator shows up. And I was hoping we were going to, like in the final act, we were going to get sort of like a thriller.
Well, it almost becomes, I know you haven't seen this, but it's excellent. Investigation of a Citizen Above Suspicion with Jean Maria Volante, where he's this officer of the law investigating the own crime he committed.
Oh, that's my next line, is that how, like, it would, like, imagine investigating a murder you committed. That's my next line. Like, that would have been such a fun angle for the final act of the film to me. But instead, it just turns into the sheriff trying to pin it on someone else. But then this nebulous, like, I'm calling this person a white supremacist just from the signaling we get from his private jet. And, but whoever this person is, it just feels so like, I don't know. I don't think we needed that either.
I don't think so. I don't know. It just, again, it just, there's so, it kind of, like I said before, like it kind of collapses under the weight of everything, and it just like.
So Michael, the black deputy, as the BLM protests start to ramp up, and then we get before we get the full riots, the other deputy, the white guy, and the sheriff keep asking him, like, are you okay? Like, you know, like, oh, this thing happened to the black American community, like, are you okay? And I don't know. I didn't read it as like basic or obvious. It just, this movie felt to me like just pouring all the ingredients from that period into a big bowl and then just getting this chaos. I found it appealing. It's just doing too much for too long.
I agree. Maybe I'm biased because like I'm not in a rush to revisit that period.
No, me either. But Michael, the black deputy, he ends up being put in the jail. While the sheriff is saying he's going to investigate him, and we know he's just trying to pin it on him. And then Michael's able to escape somehow. And then we see that this nebulous bad guy has Michael like standing by a fire pit in the middle of the desert with this drone watching him. That just felt like, then I felt like I was fully crazy.
Yeah, like, okay, what sci-fi movie are we in?
And then a bomb goes off, there's a huge explosion. And then like we see that there's like this, they've used like some sort of like
flammable material,
flames to spell out no peace.
But who's seen? Well, I guess the drone caught the footage of it, but also
and they'll publish it on social media.
Also, who cares about this small town in New Mexico? Anyway?
Well, I think the film does. I mean, the point is made, the power of social media.
Yes,
so
of course.
I mean, I thought that was effective.
I think I like the construction of several other things a little bit more, which is I think why the end result feels kind of disappointing, such as this face-off between Ted Garcia and Joe Cross, where Joaquin Phoenix goes because there's a noise complaint.
I have to say about that
was
scene.
a good scene.
I also think it's a good scene, and I rarely bop to Katy Perry's music.
Same.
But for some reason, Katy Perry's fireworks in this scene, I added it to my gym mix as soon as we got home. Because I don't know, it just worked so perfectly in the scene.
Yes, it did.
Yeah. No, that was good. I also think the Pueblo investigator, who I also really
Butterfly, yeah. Michael Ward and Butterfly, William Bellow are, I think, the best supporting characters in this.
He is kind of following the sheriff around because he knows something's not right. Because he says like, well, I found some tire tracks and I found this bullet. And then we see him at one point sneaking around, like taking photos of the sheriff's tires. And then the sheriff, after he killed the mayor and the son, he spray painted something in the house. And I forget what it said, but it was something that was like, that makes you think it was like maybe like BLM did.
Right.
But the Pueblo investigator is kind of lingering around the sheriff's office, and he sees that big whiteboard that says slogan ideas, and he notices that the penmanship is similar to the spray painting in the house. So we see him run to his car, and then Joaquin follows him. That energy I really liked.
Same.
And that's when I was like, oh, we're going to get a like kind of a comedic thriller.
But it's in such small spurts, though.
Yeah.
And then I think it's the cinematographer is Darius Kanji, who's of course an excellent cinematographer. Has worked with Fincher, early Jean-Pierre Jeunet films, including Alien Resurrection. So I have a special place in my heart for him. But and also Mickey 17 this year. But there's that one scene where it's in that shootout that goes on forever, where Joaquin Phoenix is in the middle of the street and we pan around him. Does it go in both directions around, like a 360 almost? It's like, but why?
Well, I do recall that scene and being sort of stressed out, like, oh, like at any moment he's going to get shot. But, well, speaking of dragging things out, because that's what that scene
I was hoping he would get shot so it would end.
Well, so then the end is the inauguration of the data center, and we see that the mother-in-law is now basically running the town via her paralyzed son-in-law. And so then I'm like, okay, the movie can end now. And then we see Michael, the black deputy, did not die in that explosion. He's actually been made sheriff. And there was a plot point earlier of like, well, my dad used to work as a deputy, and he only ever made it to captain. So, am I ever going to get beyond that? Like, is there some ceiling for me? So then we see him make sheriff, but only because of all the nonsense that happened. But then the final scene is actually the mother-in-law, the sheriff, go back home, and now they live in the mayor's old house, which is like this really nice, like, hilltop mansion. And they have like a PCA, like a private nurse, who we see him carry the sheriff into the house. We see him get him naked. So you see Joaquin's little dingle-dangle to put him on the toilet, which was kind of funny because then Joaquin's kind of complaining like, oh, and the PCA hits him. And then he goes, oh, I'm sorry. And then we see him put the sheriff, Joaquin, in bed. And then guess who crawls in bed? The mother-in-law. And then guess who also crawls in bed? The damn nurse, who takes his clothes off and then cuddles up with the mom. That was too much for me. I don't mind freaky shit, but like, I don't understand how that even, like, I don't understand what he's saying with that.
And there are moments of violence that seem to be just pure shock value.
Which did work.
I don't mind. I mean, that doesn't bother me, but the press screening we were at yesterday, there was some woman that was just very upset about that. But which kind of enhanced the feeling for me, rewatching it in those moments. But I don't know. It feels like those moments come when it feels like, oh, something has to happen and we're trying really hard to have a response.
I think from what I've seen from Ari Aster, including his first film, The Strange Thing About the Johnsons, I think, that short film.
I don't know if that's his first short, but yeah.
But either way, I'm somewhat familiar, right? I've seen 4 movies now, plus that short. I think is a talented filmmaker.
Of course, yeah.
A fun storyteller, seems intelligent. I enjoyed this movie. I think there's an edit where I would like love it. Would I watch it again? Yeah. I could see myself getting up a lot and maybe, throwing in some laundry or, but I would recommend it if people like his movies. It's worth checking out.
It's a new Ari Aster film. I think it's must see. I think there's not a lot of people working at his level in American cinema these days. But I agree. There's an edit out there that's a 4-star film for me.
What would you give the film you watched yesterday? I give this
version that I've seen 2 times now, so 5 hours worth of this film I've seen, 2.5.
I dug it more than you did. I would give it 3 out of 5. Anything else?
No.
Join us on Patreon and listen to our podcast. Bye.